Okay, I guess we're live. Hello, everyone. On today's On Track special, we're diving into one of the most crucial conversations of our time, the shift towards a human-centric AI. Now, what does that really mean to prioritize AI development, how we can harness AI power to while still mitigating the risks of data privacy violations, IP misuse, even deepfake manipulation. We will explore these issues and what needs to improve to ensure that AI serves humanity, not just a handful of corporations. I would like to take this opportunity also to introduce myself. I'm Cristina Noelle, and I recently joined Origin Trail team as the head of marketing. What excites me the most about this collaboration is becoming a part of something that's changing the way we connect and trust information in a world that needs it now more than ever. I believe in technology that doesn't control, but empowers. And that's what Origin Trail is all about. Now, joining me today, we have a panel of experts who are deeply involved in shaping the technologies of the future. We have Fadi Mansour and Chris Rynning. Toni Piëch sadly won't join us today because he's feeling a little under the weather. So to get started, guys, I invite each of you to introduce yourselves and share, well, one fascinating fun fact about you. Given your remarkable achievements, I'm sure that you'll have many to choose from, but we can pick one to get everything started. Fadi, you can start, please.
I don't know about remarkable achievements or fascinating facts, but I'll start. I'll leave that to Chris. I'm Fadi Mansour. I am a lawyer. I practice criminal regulatory law in Ottawa, Ontario. I also teach law at the University of Ottawa Law School. I'm the managing partner of a private equity firm called Ethical Capital Partners, and we invest in industries or companies that have an ESG challenge, and work with the company to fix or work with the industry to fix that challenge. We also largely are interested in investing in technology. And I also have a book on the law of firearms with my law partner, Solomon Friedman. Something fascinating about me, I don't know if fascinating, but I speak 3 languages. I speak English, Arabic is my native language, and I also know American Sign Language, which I learned in university.
That's amazing. Thank you, Fadi. Chris?
Yes. Hi, Christina. Hi, Fadi. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. And I send greetings from Toni Piëch. Sadly couldn't be here, as you mentioned. I have worked with and been friends with Toni over 20 years, so I think I cannot speak for him, but I know many of his thoughts and opinions on this topic. So I'm looking forward to dive into that. By way of introduction, I'm from Norway. I'm a father of 2, and I think that is also context that we can come back to when we discuss humanity and the future of AI. I run AMYP Ventures, which is part of a Piëch-Porsche family office. So it's a 100% Piëch-Porsche owned investment company. We invest globally, and I'll come back a little bit later to our relationship with Trace Labs and Origin Trail. But a little bit more about myself. I went to the Royal Norwegian Air Force Academy for over 6 years. I then went to France, to Paris, and I studied at ESSEC, which is a grande école in France. Got really interested in finance and economics and went to the US, where I did an MBA or graduate studies at University of Chicago. And at that point, I'd lived in Europe, I'd lived in North America for a couple of years, and I realized I knew nothing about Asia. And to carbon date myself, this was in the mid 1990s. So probably before many of you were born, but I took a job in Tokyo, in Japan, and lived and worked in finance in Tokyo. Eventually, a deal that I was working on took me to China. I relocated from Tokyo to Beijing and thought I was going to stay in China for 2 years, maybe 4 years. I ended up staying more than 10 years in Beijing and Shanghai, and a little bit of time in the south, in Hong Kong as well. And I wrote a little bit about China while I was there, published a couple of books on the Chinese economy, Chinese history. And one fun fact, I guess, is that in 2017, 2018, published a book on China and artificial intelligence. And the subtitle was how I thought China might come to dominate artificial intelligence and blockchain. And it's available on Amazon, this book, but it's not a plug. If anyone wants a free copy of the book, I'm very happy to send it to you. So get in touch with Christina or myself. I'll send you a copy. But of course, as with any book, it is the ultimate test if it stands the test of time, so to speak. And I spoke a lot about why China would be in a good position, namely because of the amount of data that the large language models would need to train on to be any good. And one of my key arguments was that China has a lot of data, has a big population, and people don't care so much, and maybe don't have so much options either to opt in for privacy and lack of GDPR. So the rules and regulations are different in China when it comes to collecting data, of course. The amount of investments that goes into the Chinese economy, and that has only accelerated, and of course the scale of the market. So those were some issues maybe we can come back to when it comes to China and China's position today versus the rest of the world when it comes to artificial intelligence. In the end, full disclosure, AMYP Ventures is invested in Trace Labs, which is the developers of OriginTrail. We invested there quite a long time ago, and have been following the developments of Trace Labs and OriginTrail for many years, and have also built a position in the Trac token. So we are very long-time supporters of both OriginTrail and the Trac token. So that's a long-winded introduction of myself and I guess the context of why I'm on this podcast. Happy to be here.
It was a really, really nice introduction. And of course, to both of you, thank you for the support and everything that you said. And really, those are remarkable achievements, I have to say. Moving on, I will start with the questions now. And I would like to touch base with the social dilemma. So the co-creators of this Netflix documentary that was really popular, Azar Raskin and Tristan Harris, maintain that humanity's first contact with AI was actually social media. And humanity kind of lost that battle, meaning we still haven't fixed the misalignment caused by this broken business model that just prioritizes maximum engagement. Now, they also say that large language models, LLMs, are humanity's second contact. And it looks like we're poised to make the same mistakes again. Do you believe that AI development can be accelerated in a human-centric way while still avoiding the same pitfalls we made with social media? Fadi, can you please give me your insight?
Sure. I mean, from my perspective, any technological advancement comes with benefits to humanity, because the goal always, when you start with something, a company's raising money and starting new technology, is to fix a problem, to have a better solution, to be more efficient, to do something that didn't exist before. And almost universally, there's a countervailing increase in the ability to do something negative as well if it's truly kind of disruptive technology. And so, with the advent of the internet, every large step that the internet takes came with something that really benefited humanity, benefited efficiency, benefited us in whatever the product is, and had a countervailing way in which, a subset of the population is trying to commit a crime, or is using it, maybe not in a criminal way, but in another kind of immoral or unethical way. I think AI is no different, except AI has the possibility to kind of change things in a really drastic step, both on the good and the bad. Because if you kind of agree with the underlying premise that where you have a large good, there's going to be a countervailing, equally large bad. AI, I think, is one of the next things that is going to put that into our society in a really, really big way. If we're going to become much more efficient in creating content, in analyzing content, in distributing content, we're going to be equally more efficient in doing all the bad things that currently happen with content. And we haven't even won that battle on today's content. How are we going to win it with something that's producing way more? And so when you look at why does that happen, I think inherently companies are driven by trying to return a profit for their shareholders, and their entrepreneurs are optimistic by nature. If you're not an optimistic entrepreneur, you're probably not starting a company. If you're only seeing the negative, you're not going to go in and risk everything. And so you're built a certain way as an entrepreneur, and people that invest in companies are built a certain way, which is you see the good, you see the optimism, and you'll deal with the problems as they come. And then what often happens then is the problems get quite large before you realize you have to deal with them, and you're playing catch up, trying to develop tools to stop the harm. And so I think with AI, the good and the bad. The good is we're talking about it, and I think for a lot of new technologies, we weren't talking about the possibilities of harm. I mean, social media sites like Facebook and others really did change the way we interact with each other in a very, very substantial way. But we weren't in the early days, I think, talking about where could this go really, really wrong in the same way that we're talking about it on AI. So I think there is a desire now by companies and by society to look and to require companies to be ESG compliant, and to require companies to be thinking about the harms at the same time as they're thinking about the good. And I think investors are starting to say, I'm happy to deploy my capital and I am looking at my returns, but it's not just returns. I want to know what the underlying company's values are, what they aim to do, and how they're going to prevent harm. Because I do think a lot of investors and family offices and institutional investors do not want to be deploying their capital in a manner that perpetuates harm.
Thank you, Fadi. Yeah, talking about the problems is usually the first step on trying to solve them, or at least brainstorming and bringing some solutions to the table. Chris, where's your input on this?
Yeah, I agree. I think we did lose the first contact. And I think in the short version is that I think we still have time to choose what future we want when it comes to AI. But I guess it's worth just pausing a little bit at what Asa and Tristan really mean when they said we lost first contact. And I think just to rush in, as Fadi also pointed to, I think we have, as a family and from AMYP's side, we have huge sympathy with tech optimism, right? I think we see all the good things that AI can provide, all of it, from potential cure for cancer, climate change, democratized news cycle, finding friends online. So it's not all bad, but when you look at the business model that developed with the big tech companies in particular, where the algorithms were, which I guess in this context is the reference to the first simple AI software codes, they were all geared towards user engagement. So what could come to the top of your feed, or what keep you on your phone or by your browser. And of course, not overstating the obvious here, outrage or even hate created much more engagement than any other topic. So that came to the top of the feed, and this became this race for the brainstem, right? Race for the attention economy. And the concern there is that in that race for attention, we lost something on the way, right? We lost, for example, conversation. And I think what AI scientists and philosophers and historians are really worried about when it also comes to AI is if you destroy conversation, you potentially destroy democracy, because conversation is democracy. So I think we as investors, when we look at this, we always end up in this cost benefit analysis. Also with AI, right? Does the benefits outweigh the risks and the costs? And I guess Asa and Tristan is saying that's the wrong question. The question we have to ask is not if the benefits are bigger than the costs. It's whether the risks or the costs are so large that they undermine the foundations of society on the way to the destination. So I think what we think about when we look at AI and where we're at, and our investment thesis, it's definitely this need to slow down, which we've been through a few iterations of that. I think it was everyone was talking about slowing down AI. I think it was March 2023 when we had this open letter that were coming from many leading tech titans and thought leaders on the issue to slow down the deployment of the large language models. The problem is that both companies and nations find it very, very hard to slow down. Why? Because if we don't do it, somebody else will do it. So in every boardroom, every investor committee meeting, if we don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. And if we slow down in Europe or in the US, China will do it, right? So it's this fear, I guess, this fear of losing out. That's what's driving a lot of investments, and in my mind, the positive views about AI and potentially overlooking the risks, right? Because the risks are there. And what I think where we need to get this conversation, not on this podcast necessarily, but I think in society, is that it's not the fear of me losing out or my company or our nation losing out. It's the fear of all of us losing out, right? Because if you're asking, and one final thing that I think on this I think very good question, Christina, is that there was a survey that Tristan and Asa also referred to, that if you ask the AI researchers, the AI scientists, more than half of them say that there is more than a 10% chance that humanity will go extinct from the inability to control AI. I'll repeat that. More than 50% of AI researchers and scientists say that there's a 10% or larger chance humanity can go extinct. And if the analogy here is that if airplane engineers, 50% of airplane engineers were telling you there's a 10% chance that this plane could go down, you're never getting on that plane, right? You're just not. But here we are racing into an AI-dominated future where we haven't fixed the disalignments from the first contact, and we're racing into this future out of fear of losing out to China or to another bigger company. So I think we are quite concerned that this still has the potential to get out of control and it can run away from us. And now's the time to have this debate in every boardroom in between nations, right? Because this is also not a local issue, that this is a global issue, right? And I guess that's the second contact. The first contact was the social media and the algorithms and the attention economy. The second contact is the AI models and the race for intimacy, right? And that's where I think there is still time to choose what future we want, but it's now. It's really now. It's not in 5 years. And I think 5 years from now, I think we could wish that we could go back to today and really take this a lot more seriously than many boardrooms are taking it today.
Yeah, those are really insightful and possibly even doomsday predictions.
Yeah, I don't want to be too doomsday oriented, but I do think we do need to talk about the risk because we are now at the moment where bots and AI agents are creating more content than humans, right? This is called the flippening. I mean, there are a few flippenings in the crypto world as well, but in the media content aggregation term, we are now at the point where AI generated content is more prevalent than human content, right? And news, images, videos are increasingly produced or being heavily augmented by AI. And it's completely flooding the internet, right? And this is a major challenge for humanity because you could really start to question reality. What is real? Not only what is true and what is authentic and what is copyright infringement. I mean, we can get into that. I think Fadi has a lot of experience in that field, but we are at this flippening moment where human content versus AI generated content is there's a massive shift going on right now.
Yeah, I have to agree that, I mean, a while back, I've heard this quote that said that AI today is much worse. It's the worst that it'll ever be. Tomorrow is going to be better. So even that shows how much of acceleration the entire process has gotten, and it brings me to our next part, where Charlie Munger quotes, "Show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome." And with this staggering development of AI, there are clearly incentives in place, and it's really hard to even think that we can do anything concrete to slow it down. So maybe you can share, how can we tackle this concretely when it comes to this incentives level at which we're obviously now?
Yeah, I could take a first stab, but I think Fadi has a lot more experience on this than I do. But I think on your point, on AI and the status today, the AI we have today is the dumbest and the slowest than it will ever be. Right? There's an exponential increase in speed when it comes to the models and the deployment of AI in our lives, in whether it's generated content or how we use it to support ourselves in our daily lives, right? And whereas I don't doubt that the destination, the outcome, could be very, very, very good. Like, I mean, I've been an early reader of Hans Rosling and Factfulness, and things are much better today than they were 15, 50, take 100, 200 years ago. We are living in an amazing time. Things are much, much better off today when it comes to pretty much anything you want to measure, life expectancy and so on and so forth, right? But it wasn't a linear line, like a linear curve. Everything got better every year and every decade. And there were a few very near misses. You know, we thought as societies that we had to build empires. We didn't. We thought communism, fascism, other political systems could work. They clearly didn't. We now have this situation where, well, I took OpenAI and Anthropic to the investment committee of AMYP, and whereas the committee could see clearly that the benefits of and the financial return potential, which has been staggering, could see the potential future and the benefits of AI, the committee voted me down. Chose not to invest in those two phenomenal companies, like two leaders in its field. And the reason was that, yeah, we do see the positive sides, but we don't want to be seen to be potentially funding the end of humanity. So what we have done as a investment company and from the family office, we have exclusively started to invest into the safety valves of internet, I would say in general, and AI in particular. So I would say that that's one of the reasons we clearly invested in Trace Labs, right? Which was set up when we got involved to provide provenance and track physical assets, be it with Swiss Rail or Walmart or any physical asset, right? In terms of provenance, authenticity, etc. And now we're working very closely with Origin Trail to overlay that distributed knowledge graph from physical assets to digital assets, to articles, to videos, to images, to track and authenticate the provenance of anything that's published, right? And I think that's one area, that we as investors, we need to not only see the potential upside and invest in the potential upside. In my case, I was voted down, but I could flip it, right? And I could invest in the safety and the harm reduction and the friction reduction. And that's where I'm also excited to tell you that we are co-founding a new company called Human-Tech, humanitech.com or humanitech.ai. You can go there and see, where we're exclusively focusing on reducing harm and friction on the internet in terms of provenance.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, the safety part and the friction is absolutely something to be very, very aware of. Guys, you heard it from Chris first. You can go to humanitech.ai and, of course, subscribe for any updates. So, guys, you're both a part of Origin Trail's ecosystem. What kind of use cases are you most excited about when it comes to Origin Trail's technology? Fadi, can you please give your insight here?
Sure. When we're talking about the problem and maybe how do we fix the problem, people often look at laws or regulations and say, well, can we just legislate the problem away? So can we fix it now by imposing things on companies to ensure that the problems don't happen? And I think legislation and regulation are really a difficult, usually an ineffective way of dealing with harms caused by innovative technology, because one, it's a very slow process to get a law passed. Often legislators are, too late to the party to be able to do it properly. And when they do, because technology is so complicated and it's so universal, it is very difficult to do it correctly. And so often laws that come in with all the good incentives do not achieve their desired purpose, or inadvertently achieve unrelated harms or stifle other innovation in the process. And so what you really need is self-regulation. You need companies that want to find solutions to problems. You need companies that are looking at the harm at the same time as the innovation, and trying to balance it themselves. And you need the market leaders in those industries to lead that way. And I think that tools being developed today, like origin trails, which can very much be employed to reduce many of the harms that we are worried about now, the ones that at least we're aware of right now. Because at the moment, there are harms that we know AI will perpetuate that are obvious to us because they are in many ways the same harms that are on the internet today. Okay? Things like stealing people's content, stealing people's likeness, distribution of illegal material, the creation of more illegal material. Those are harms that the internet struggled with kind of from its advent. And because we've broken down so many walls with the creation of the internet, because it is so universal and there are no borders when it comes to going online, it's difficult to regulate and requires the companies to self-regulate. And so I think technology like origin trails that gives the tools that allow you to self-regulate and do things better and ensure that you, in given the technological advancements, you're not taking away something else. And so in giving someone the ability to create far more content far quicker with far fewer inputs, you're not inadvertently also deleting the content creator economy by ensuring that everyone's likeness is immediately ripped off. And so if you can have things like origin trail systems where you can trace the provenance of all materials, you can ensure that you are not creating material on the back or through the use of other illegal material. By ensuring that where you are monetizing something or taking someone's likeness, that you have that person's consent and that you are, if they are consenting to it, that they are getting the benefit of their likeness being monetized. And by trying to track and stop the distribution of illegal material, all of that, I think companies can align on and say, that is something we want. That is something that we're battling today. And that is one of the most obvious harms that everybody's thinking about that AI is going to create. And I think Origin Trail is one of a perfect solution of what they've created to try and deal with some of those issues.
Thank you, Fadi. Well, I know that both of you at this point have been introduced on how versatile the DKG and the Origin Trail technology is. Chris, maybe you can tip in here.
Yeah, I agree. And just, instead of repeating everything that Fadi said, I guess it's, from an investor, if I put on my investor hat, right, it's like to have a more human-centric AI direction, you need to also invest in the right humans. And I would just point out here that when we back companies, we back people, their values and their approach. And so when we invested in Trace Labs, we invested in the founders, right, with Branimir, Siga, and Tomas, and it's humans that know what they're doing, that you can trust, and you can go to and ask these difficult questions and have a dialogue and pivot at the right times and keep evolving with the times. So we have more than backing a company, we backed the people behind Origin Trail, which are I would say, core developers. And for us as a financial investor, we have limited ability to go and evaluate technology. We have to invest with the developers, the ones that are in the front lines and developing the technology. We would never back, financiers or marketers in this space alone. So we need to back humans with good human values that are trying to do the right thing. So that is something I think, whether you make an investment in a company or you're going to back the right scientists and developers that are going to develop the tools for the future, it has to start there with the right people. And then, of course, philosophically, to work in an open source and decentralized and democratized way, versus a centralized authoritarian way is very important for us. It's why we got involved in blockchain and crypto and the reason we love Origin Trail with its decentralized, democratized, open source approach. So you need you need a movement, you need a village, you need for mass adoption like this to go in the direction we want. We have been very impressed with the underlying philosophy and the caretaking of the movement and the community. I mean, I want to compliment your community in the way you caretake and the distributed knowledge graph. It's a quite difficult concept to understand and to explain, but the philosophy behind it and the values behind it is underlining why we are so bullish on both Origin Trail and the technology and the token, of course, that comes with it. So I think for us, when we look at AI and I guess the part of the challenge is like we had these moments before in history, right, where these Oppenheimer moments where we I guess humanity had to come together and rally to either slow down or proliferate or to at least have a debate about where do we go from here. I think it's important that the community around the Origin Trail and the founders around the Origin Trail and everyone on this podcast thinks through these issues and partakes in the debate, right? Because when we had the nuclear moment, we had all the nuclear arsenal around the world. I guess there's a saying that the nukes were there, but the nukes never made stronger nukes. I mean, the nukes were just there. The AI, which we have now, as I said, is the slowest and the dumbest it's ever been. So AI is right now, as we speak, building stronger and smarter AI, which could be for the benefit, or we could still fuck it up. So I think my point here is back the right people and partake in the debate.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Yeah, it's been said on multiple occasions by many smart people that if you have a group of people with the right values, you can change the world. So as we wrap up today, do either of you have any final words, any conclusions? No? Okay. Fadi, you wanted to say something. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, one, at the risk of having the Origin Trails team's head get really big, I do agree they're wonderful people. Chris introduced me to them some time ago, and he started with they're really nice people doing some really exciting stuff. And I agreed, which is why I was happy to join the advisory board. But I think for me, they were deploying their technology in physical assets, the idea behind everything being verifiable and getting to its provenance and origin. And that is going to be one of the biggest challenges we face on the internet, is tracing the provenance of every piece of content and understanding where does it come from. Does it come from a place that is legal or not legal, a place that is ethical or not ethical? And then where's the end point that's a product being produced, and who's being exploited in the process, and can we stop that exploitation? And if we're not exploiting and we're actually monetizing something properly, can we trace that and pay the right people? And I think their technology, in the same way they did it in the physical world, they can very much do it at a very large scale on the internet side. And with version 8 of the DKG, that just makes that kind of the obvious progression to where this happens next, and dealing with, I think, the most imminent problem with AI.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, Fadi. The Origin Trail it's a proven technology, right? It's in its 8th generation now, and it's been iterated and worked on. And so we, to overlay proven technology that we know works on new challenges like provenance of digital assets, I think is the perfect way to go, right? Because it's very unlikely that things will slow down, right? That investors will stop investing and politicians will stop, running their own agenda, their national agenda, so to speak. So slowing down, I think that's going to be very hard, right? There's a couple of things I think we should talk about and get, in general, not, I know we're running out of time now, but, when you are online, you should be able to know, for example, whether you're talking to a human or you're talking to a machine. I think that's an easy win, right? And I think certainly from an investor point of view, to invest more in the safety, the friction reduction, and the harm reduction is definitely needed. And I think, quite frankly, with a lot of the big sort of companies having run away from most people when it comes to an investment opportunity, at what valuation is OpenAI or Anthropic an interesting investment opportunity, right? But there's still so much you can invest in the safety and harm reduction of the AI side. So that's the part actually where I think you can fight the good fight. You can use tech for good. And the irony here is that we humans, in a way, have already lost that fight, right? We need to deploy technology and machines to fight machines, but we can do something about the incentive, right? And we can do something about the type of people we back to fight the good fight. So that's why I'm excited to be on this journey with you guys at the Ridge and Trail. It's an honor, and it's a very important mission you guys are on.
Thank you, Chris. It's really an honor from all of us to have you both as our investors and advisors. So as we can wrap today's episode on Trac special, well, it's clear that innovation is moving fast, and the choices we make today and now will eventually define the near future, I have to say. A huge thank you to both of you for sharing your insights, for tuning in. If you guys, our listeners and viewers, enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to subscribe, share, and keep the conversation going. And until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and of course, stay on track.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.